One of my best friends wants to know, how do you make that booty clap? Let me show you. Just kidding. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. As always, I really appreciate it. So I'm really excited about today's video because it's going to be a little bit more chill. It's gonna be a Q&A, get to know me type of video. To be quite honest with you, right now with everything that's going on with the coronavirus, it's just sometimes it's a little hard for me to like focus and do a either makeup video or hair video when my mind just like isn't in the right place. I figured, I'm like, you know what, I think that it's time, I think it's time that we get to know each other a little bit more, especially since for the last couple of weeks I have gotten a couple of messages here on YouTube where people tell me that they don't have any other social media, so they don't follow me on Instagram, because on Instagram, like, I do tend to share like a lot about myself and a lot about my, like my family and just my life in general. So I was like, oh my gosh, you know what? Like, I never thought of that. I never thought that there's a lot of people on YouTube which probably don't follow me on Instagram for whatever reason. I asked you guys both on YouTube and on Instagram, I asked you guys to send me some questions because I'm like, you don't realize how awkward it is to sit in front of a camera and talk about yourself until you actually have to do it and you're like, you have no idea what to say. To just sit here for what? For like the next 20 minutes and just like talk about myself? That's so weird. But that's what we're gonna do, so. All right, so I think I'm just gonna go ahead and jump into the questions that you guys had for me. Right here on YouTube, actually, Sony asked, how old are you? Are you married? Do you have kids? So if you follow me on Instagram, you might already know two of these things, and that is, yes, I am married. I recently became a mom. Yay! And when I say recently, I mean like a year ago. My daughter actually just turned a year old March 6th. I can't even believe that I'm a mom of a 1-year-old. What is life? She is absolutely like the most scrumptious thing in the entire world. She has taken over my Instagram. Nobody even cares about me on my Instagram anymore. People are only there to see Aria, and nobody even holds back to let me know like, oh no girl, we're here for her, not for you anymore. So I have been married for now going on 5 years. In November, it's gonna be a 5-year wedding anniversary, and we've been together also in November, it's gonna be 9 years. So I do know that somebody else had asked me like how I met my husband, so I figured, I was like, oh, we're already talking about him. I can kind of like already tell you like how we met. So my husband and I we met in high school. Now, we did not start dating in high school, but we met in high school. So we met our 12th grade year. We both had a stagecraft class. Bullshit class. So I graduated in 2006, and my graduating class was humongous. Okay, it was like obnoxiously large. So I guess like it's normal to not know everybody. Like, I mean, like, you know a lot of people, but I didn't know absolutely everybody from my graduating class. And my husband was actually one of those people that I didn't know. I didn't know who he was until we met in class. So I was in the class first, and then he transferred in. It was a small crammed class, and I still remember the table that I was sitting at. It wasn't like individual desk or anything. It was just one table, and I think it was like 5 of us already sitting at the table. He squeezed his ass through and made sure he like sat right next to me. I don't know why talking about it makes me feel like I'm blushing. So yeah, so he like says that he wanted to sit next to me, so there was no space, but we made space, or he made the space. And yeah, that's how we met. He, right away, I thought he was like super sweet. He was super funny. We hit it off like right away, but just as friends, and not even like good friends. We were just good friends like during the class, but once the class was done, we pretty much just like had completely separate different lives. And so he had his thing, he played football, so he was very involved with that. I had a boyfriend at the time, so I was like very involved with my own life. So we were good friends like during class, but then outside of that, there really was nothing more, or at least like I didn't allow it to be more than that, because he would try to, you know. I do remember like during class, there was a lot of times where he would be like, come on, Jenny, leave your boyfriend, come with me, or let me take you home, and blah, 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 like the whole thing. Always like in a joking way, because he was always very, very respectful. But I think it's because at the time, my boyfriend didn't go to our same school. So, you know, like he used to say like in a very like playful way. Yeah, he used to always kind of like throw those little comments, you know, every once in a while, like, oh, do you need a ride home? Or, you know, are you gonna hang out with your boyfriend? Or do you want, you know, like that kind of thing, you know, just like silly high school stuff. And it was actually really sweet because I don't know if, I can't remember right now, I have to ask him, but I don't know if it was like during high school. I think it was like during high school. I wish it was here so I could ask him, but he had me saved, and this was like way before like we started dating. He had me saved on his phone as Jenny, my future wife. And I always tell him, careful what you wish for. So then that was our 12th grade year, and we graduated. I kind of went my way, he went his way. And the reason why we kept in contact, although we weren't really good friends, was because his best friend was actually living right next to me, was like my next door neighbor at the time. And so throughout the year, he would come by, visit. He knew I was next door. They would always come by and just kind of like hang out and say, hey, what are you doing? We're next door, you know, let's hang out, that type of thing. So that's how we kind of kept in contact throughout those years, because we actually did not start actually dating until maybe like, it was like 4 years after we graduated high school. So yeah, and it was one of those things that it kind of happened. Like I wasn't with anybody. He wasn't with anybody. I found out he wasn't with anybody, and I was like, this is my chance. So I let his best friend know, like, oh, I'm kind of interested, and I knew it would get to him, and you know, one thing led to the other, and yeah, I mean, that's kind of like how that happened. Okay, so what was the other part of the question? Oh, it says, how old are you? I am 31. My birthday is June 13, and I am a Gemini. And you wanna know what's crazy? My husband's a Gemini too. Okay, so the other question that I got asked so many times, and I was so incredibly surprised, and I couldn't believe it, and it was if my husband and I want more kids. And the answer is yes. We would love to have one more baby, so 2 in total. However, I feel like we're both on the same page where it's like we want another baby, like it would be such a blessing. However, we're just kind of leaving it in God's hands. That's sort of like how Aria happened. We didn't really like plan for it per se. We didn't like try to stop it or anything like that. We just kind of like left it in God's hands, and that's kind of like how we are with this other wish. If God sees that it's for us, then we're like super open to the idea and we love it. However, if it's not for us, then I also think we're okay with that. We would stay happy if this is how the situation stayed. However, it would also be a huge blessing to have her have a little brother or sister. Okay, so I also got asked a lot, where are you from? Okay, so I am from Miami. Okay, so my mom is Puerto Rican and my dad is Colombian. So I'm a mix. I'm a little mutt. I do identify with my Puerto Rican side a lot more because I was raised by my mom. My parents divorced when I was like very, very young. We lived in Puerto Rico till I was like 10 years old. Then we moved to Miami, and I've been here pretty much ever since. I've been here in Miami pretty much my entire life. Okay, so someone here asked, how did you become a makeup artist? Growing up, what did you want to be? So for those of you that don't follow me on Instagram, I am a makeup artist. I do makeup for special occasions, and that's like weddings and quinces and photo shoots. And so I've been doing that for like about 6 years now. And how did I become a makeup artist? So makeup is actually something that I've always been, well, let me not say always. I would say since I was like probably like 14, 15 years old, I was very, very passionate about, like very passionate. And we're talking about, this was like a little over 15 years ago. So things were very different. We didn't have Pinterest. We didn't have YouTube. And I remember having binders and binders and binders of collages that I used to make. Like I used to go through magazines and I would cut out pictures of makeup, and I was just so incredibly fascinated by it. I mean, it was obsession. Now, growing up, I didn't think like, okay, I want to be a makeup artist, because the truth is that the makeup artistry world has like recently, and when I say recently, I'm talking about in the last, I feel like in the last like 10 years has changed, and then even more so in the last 5 years, it's been like drastic change. I feel like growing up, to aspire to be a makeup artist wasn't necessarily like something that you would say out loud. Like, I know it sounds terrible, but it's something that a lot of artists would feel on the inside, like that's what I want to do, like that's what I want to be, but it just wasn't seen the same. So for you to say you want to be a makeup artist, I remember she meant no harm by it. She was a wonderful teacher, but I do remember I had a teacher in my 10th grade year of high school, and I told her that I wanted to be a makeup artist, and like her response was like, oh, but you're so smart, like why would you only do that? You know, and again, she was the sweetest thing in the world. And at the moment, it's like nobody really saw makeup artistry or becoming a makeup artist as like something like, wow. You know, like nowadays I feel like every time I tell anybody I'm a makeup artist, they're like completely fascinated and they have all these questions. They're like, oh my God, like you're such an artist. I feel like before it was be more of like, oh, that's it? But isn't that just like a hobby? So I've always wanted to be a makeup artist, but I can't say that I was pursuing it while I was like in high school. When I went to college, I was definitely not pursuing it. Now, I loved it and I was doing it on all my friends, and I would do my own makeup. And listen, I've been taking selfies. I used to take selfies with like disposable cameras. So growing up, what I wanted to do was I actually wanted to do graphic design. That was actually something that I tried to pursue. When I graduated high school, I tried going to the school that's called AI, the Art Institute of Miami. I tried going there, and I was gonna go there for graphic design. To this day, I love graphic design stuff, picture editing, and just creating images out of like Photoshop. Like, I would get lost in the computer for hours. I mean, I would stay up till like 3-4 o'clock in the morning editing pictures or creating something. And so the only reason why I didn't pursue it was because going to AI was out of my budget. There was no way that I could afford it, and there was no like financial aid available. And so unfortunately, it just became one of those things where it was not possible. So at the moment, of course, I was like devastated. I was so sad. But I'm the type of person where I think back and I'm like, well, you know what? Like, every step of the way, it was like God guiding me through. So I don't know why it didn't happen. All I know is that it didn't happen for a reason. I have a lot of peace in my heart when it comes to things like this. I don't like dwell on like, why did things didn't happen? No, not at all. I actually I love that I'm a makeup artist, and I feel like becoming a makeup artist has like really helped me grow as a person, as an individual. It's made me very independent, and I've been able to develop a lot of different skills that I don't think I would have developed as a graphic designer. So yeah, so I feel like that's what I wanted to do growing up. I wanted to be a graphic designer. So the way that I ended up with makeup was, so I worked like at a regular office job. I absolutely I loved this job. Like, I loved it. I loved my boss. I loved like the people I worked with. It was amazing. But towards the end, like a couple of things happened. Things started to get really, really stressful at this job. I started to become so unhappy. I'm talking about like crying on my way home from work almost every day type of unhappy. And one day I found myself thinking like, what am I gonna do? At the time, I remember, oh my gosh, so this is interesting. I'm gonna tell you guys, just because you're like, you know what, you just never know when God is gonna use certain people. So that's why I always, you have to be kind to people. Like, you just have to have an open heart. And here's why I say that, because at the time, I remember my husband, which was my boyfriend at the time, had a friend, right? And this friend, they were good friends. Like, this good friend of my boyfriend's, now husband, had a girlfriend, and she is a makeup artist, right? And I remember like when I found out about her and everything, I was just, oh my gosh, to do what she does. And I saw it, and it was like almost like one of the first times I had seen somebody do what I had always envisioned myself doing. I had just never seen it be manifested. So it was almost like, holy moly, like this is what I've had in my brain this whole time, and now I'm actually looking at someone doing it, because she was a freelancer and she was like amazing. But then I found out that she was best friends with my husband, then boyfriend, with an ex-girlfriend. So my husband had a really good friend who had a girlfriend who's a makeup artist, and then she was best friends with an ex of my husband. Did I explain that right? So I remember just feeling so like, oh my gosh, like I want to talk to her, but I don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable, because it was like nothing was negative. Like there was no beef like with anybody. Like I didn't know anybody, like they didn't know me. It was just one of those things where I wouldn't want to overstep, and I didn't want to make anybody like feel uncomfortable or anything like that. And then I remember one day, like she reached out to me, like she sent a text message, and it was like something like work related for her. Like she was just kind of send out like a mass like text message blast. At the moment I had like met her maybe once or twice at like some parties, and she sent this message kind of just like letting everybody know of like her services and stuff like that. And I was like, oh my God, like this is my moment to sort of let her know that I would like love to learn from her, or just kind of like tell her like a little bit of like what I want. And what's the worst that can happen? I mean, she can send me to hell, which I really didn't think so, because the times that I had met her, she was like the sweetest thing in the entire world. And so I did, like I literally told her, I was just like, oh my God, like thank you so much for messaging me. And I told her, I was like, you know, I love makeup, and you know, I've always wanted to be a makeup artist. Like, do you have like any tips for me? What can I do? And I remember she told me, do as many people's makeup as you possibly can. Like, I mean, you need to get your hands on everyone that is around you. She says, because you need to practice as much as you possibly can and take pictures of everything you do. And I remember like I got that information and I like ran with it. I'm not even joking. I mean, if you wanted to have a conversation with me, I was gonna do your makeup. I started doing exactly what she told me. I opened up an Instagram and I started to just showcase my work. She saw, I guess like she saw my drive, and she saw how I was very serious. She actually then like took me under her wing, and till this day she holds such a special place in my heart, because she had been doing her makeup artistry already for a while, and for you to like bring someone on board to work with you and sort of like represent you and your business, like, you know, that takes a lot. So I feel like she believed in me even when I was kind of like doubtful of myself, and I'm always like so appreciative to her. I was juggling both my office job and the makeup. I did that for like about a year where I was doing both things, and then eventually I built up my clientele, and at that moment like I felt comfortable enough to let my office job go. It wasn't easy at all. Like talking about it now, like, oh yeah, I just left my job. It was not easy at all. So yeah, so that's kind of like how I became a makeup artist, and I love that story because I feel like God used someone who I would have like never imagined. We always think that we're gonna get help from like our friends, our family, like people who love us and people who have a direct relationship with us and stuff. And then to see God use someone, and it's someone like that you at the beginning think it's like, there's no way in hell that anything is gonna come from this, or that this person would even give me the time of day or anything like that. Like, I love to see that. It's one of the reasons why I feel like you really need to have an open heart and an open mind to the world, because when you do that, you allow different opportunities into your life. And I'm talking about genuinely, like you can't just go out there and be nice to everybody because you're trying to get something out of them. No, I mean just like genuinely like open your heart and have like good intentions. I feel like when you do that, you allow like all these opportunities to come into your life. So yeah, that's my story. Okay, so somebody asked, what inspired you to make your page? I actually, like the first time I attempted to do a YouTube video was a very long time ago. It was probably like 6-7 years ago, and I shied away from it. Like I really wanted to do it, and now looking back on it, I'm like, I should have done it, but again, you know, all in God's plan. But the reason why I decided to do my YouTube page, and it's been like about 3 years since I've actively been on YouTube, it's, you know, it's just because it's one of those things where I felt like the world, the universe was like pushing me to it. It just started to become like this really loud voice in my mind and in my heart, just like telling me to do it, because a lot of people would tell me like, what do you use on your hair? And a lot of it had to do with my hair, because I would go do someone's makeup and somehow we would always end up talking about my hair. And so they were like, oh my gosh, well, you should do a video, and you should do this, and you should do that. And also with makeup, more with hair, but with both things, you know, like people would tell me like, oh, you should do this and you should do that. And I would always think like, my gosh, like I actually tried to do it. It didn't go very well. Not because it went bad, just because like I shied away from it, and then I didn't like push myself to it. And yeah, that's kind of like how I ended up just one day deciding like, I want to do this. This was like 3 years ago. So I was already starting to develop like that passion that I have for connection with people. And I always felt like this platform like YouTube would just multiply that in ways that I couldn't any other way, you know, like the connection with people and having like that sense of community. Like I knew that through YouTube I would be able to accomplish that a lot more than without it. And I don't regret it at all. Like I don't regret not having started my YouTube whatever 6-7 years ago, because like I said earlier, I feel like becoming a makeup artist really helped me out of my shell. Like growing up, I was really shy when I was little. I wouldn't say that I was like necessarily really shy when I was in high school. I mean, I was definitely not as outgoing as I am now, and so I like slowly started to grow out of that. But once I became a makeup artist, like I mean, I just and I just like cracked open this shell, and I just really came out, and I started to come into myself, and I started to feel more like so much more comfortable in my skin. And I think it's because I had to develop the ability to pretty much have conversations with strangers like all day long. That's pretty much like what I do. I was either somebody was coming to me, and at the beginning of this, like I didn't have regular clients like how I do now. So I was almost for sure every single person I was gonna see was a new face, someone I had never met before. And so I have a really hard time not talking while I do people's makeup. I like to talk, and so I had to develop like the ability to be able to do like small talk and start to feel comfortable with myself. And then I started to realize that people were turning to me for advice, not just like makeup. Like if we worked on a quinceañera, what do you think about this jewelry, and what about this dress, and what about you this and that? And so then I started to realize I have to start to become comfortable with myself and comfortable with speaking up and developing a relationship with these people and these clients that I've just met. So I love that I was able to do that, and I feel like the only way I would have developed that, or at least in the speed that I did, was with my makeup artistry business. Because I'm telling you guys, like there is so much to being a makeup artist that people don't tell you about, people don't talk about, like all these skills that you need to have that you think like, oh, I know how to blend eyeshadow, like I can be a makeup artist. Like I mean, you could blend eyeshadow, but it really is like, it's just like so many different compartments that come with being a makeup artist. So for that, I don't regret it. Now I feel like, okay, I've developed those skills, and so then now I'm so happy that I'm finally doing the YouTube thing that I tried like 7 years ago. And yeah, I'm really proud of myself that I pushed through, because sometimes it is super awkward, but I personally like really love it. So somebody asked, when did you start doing your hair and become good at it? Well, thank you. Thank you for thinking that I'm good at doing my hair. So I have a video on my entire curly hair journey. I can go ahead and link that if you guys are interested in watching it. I never went through a phase where I blow dried or ironed my hair, because that was like a hell no in my family. Like my mom was like, not allowed. But I did have a lot of damage from using the wrong products, from using products really high in alcohol, and just like not taking care of my hair hair. I would say that it was probably like around the same time that I started to grow my Instagram page. So probably like maybe 6 years ago is when I started to invest more time, more products. I started to get my regular haircuts. I started to really embrace the curls. I stopped like trying to hide them, because before I would use like heavy products to try to like pull down on my hair and make the curly hair not look as curly. So I was kind of like trying to like straighten out my hair with gel. Ridiculous. It's been quite a journey. I know that a lot of people think like, oh, but your hair, you just like, your hair just looks like that. I'm like, I have worked hard on my hair, and my hair didn't always look like this. I mean, this has been a very long journey. So somebody asked me if I'm Hispanic. Yes. I feel like that's pretty obvious. Yes, I'm Hispanic. Okay, so somebody asked, which breast pump brand did you like the best? I need one. So I actually have an entire video on my breastfeeding journey. I will go ahead and I will link that somewhere above so that you guys can go ahead and check that out if you want to. Somebody else asked, what is your least favorite 21-day fix workout? I hate abs, no core strength over here. So for those of you who don't know, I started Beachbody like about a week ago, and I'm doing a workout that's called a 21-day fix. I mean, I'm only 8 days in. Ask me in 21 days and I'll probably tell you that I hate the entire thing. Listen to this question. Is it true that your mom is awesome? Guess who asked that question? My mom. So somebody says, before YouTube, what was your life like? Before YouTube, I definitely think my life was, and this is just being very honest, I think my life was a little bit less stressful, and I definitely think it was a little bit less complicated. And I think it's only because I'm juggling several things right now at the same time, and that just, it always happens. Whenever you juggle more than one thing, it's gonna happen. So I don't think it has anything to do with YouTube. It has to do with the fact that I'm juggling two things, because when I had my old job and I was a freelance makeup artist, when I was juggling those two things, life was also chaotic. I mean, I used to work Monday through Friday, and then I used to do makeup Saturdays and Sundays. For like almost a year, I worked every single day. I look back on it, I'm like, how the hell did I do that? Alrighty guys, so that's pretty much it for today's video. I really enjoyed filming this video. Let's see how it goes with the editing, because I feel like it's like 3 hours long. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you want to see more content like this, especially during our quarantine. I know that everybody's having a little bit more downtime than usual. Let me know if you guys want a little bit more like chit-chatty type of videos. I really loved it. I hope you're all staying safe. Please do so. I know these times are very scary. Let's just try to be as positive as possible. Give yourself a little bit of a mental break. Turn the news off. Go read something that makes you feel good. A bubble bath with some good music. You know, just make it a point to incorporate as many positive things in your everyday as possible, because these times, they really are strange. And so please stay safe. I love you guys. If you haven't done so already, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Also, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up to let me know that you like it. And yeah, that's pretty much it for today's video. I love you, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.